But I think this year it's going to be one of those years. It's a bit of a reality check.
You don't know yourself, do you?
No, I do. I'm just scared.
Because I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to.
I feel like there's going to be 4 teams who are sort of at each other's necks.
All the way to the end.
I think it's been a slight honeymoon period with Thomas Tuchel. Right now, I think Jack Grealish does need to change.
You'll have a team in second who Luke thinks is in 4th and I think in 3rd.
Welcome back to the Tactic Talk podcast. We're back after a short break. The last time we filmed, I think it was the Euros predictions, and we've left it long enough for the season to start. So we're coming back with another predictions episode, and this time we're talking about the season prediction and specifically the Premier League prediction. We're going through the expectations for the season domestically in the Premier League, players to watch out for, any insight into some tactics that the new managers joining the league and just the continuing managers might adapt, any insight and just things to expect really. Regarding the Champions League and other European leagues, we thought, because there's so much to talk about with the Premier League, we'll do a podcast specifically on the Premier League, and if there's enough interest, we'll move over to a European prediction where we generalise like the top 5 European leagues, excluding the Premier League, of course, and talk about that. So I'm joined with Jack and Luke today, and we're going to go straight into the Premier League predictions. We're going to go from 10th up to 1st, and then probably right at the end touch on the relegation battle. So let's jump straight into it. Again, 10th place, we're looking at mid-table, usually like the boring side of the table. Mm-hmm. But there are some teams specifically, we've got Wolves with Bruno Lage coming in to replace Nuno Espirito. We've got Dean Smith at Villa, who's made a lot of signings following the departure of Grealish. And then you've got Marcelo Bielsa building on what he had. Obviously, I don't know if I'm going to offend anyone by calling Arsenal a mid-table team, Spurs potentially.
But they are mid-table.
They have been. So you still got them to talk about. So jumping straight into it, Jack, your 10th place.
My 10th place is Leeds.
Leeds,
yeah.
Right. Luke?
West Ham.
So we'll start with Leeds. Building on, it's their second season in the Premier League now, and usually promoted teams suffer from second season syndrome.
True.
But when it comes to Leeds, you can't really predict the trajectory of how well they're going to develop on their football. Yeah. Obviously, putting them in 10th place, that's pretty solid. I'm not quite sure where they finished. I think it was 10th place last season.
It was similar.
Let's just get that up. But yeah, if you want to give us your run through about why Leeds should remain around the same level.
I think with
this
Leeds,
time round,
their biggest strength is you know what you're going to get. Yeah. So with Bielsa, he's got one style of play, and he's going to stick to it.
Yeah.
Until he can't anymore. Basically, I feel like they're similar to Brighton in the sense that tactically they're just all the players are suited to their style of play.
Right.
And so if they drift out of that style, it almost becomes difficult for them to adapt. So I think we're going to see the same thing. To be fair, it's a difficult style of play to play against.
Exactly. It's all about intensity. And obviously last season, the quick turnaround of fixtures, you'd expect maybe Leeds not like the style of play that they play, maybe not for them to have like such a good start. They finished 9th in the end. We finally found that out. But maybe last season was the season you'd look at them and you'd probably have some questions on how well they'd perform.
Yeah.
So maybe this season, when the fixtures won't be as relentless as last time round, we might see
full Ellen Road as well for the first time. So
that's a big factor as well that we'll have to touch on that when, especially with certain teams like Liverpool.
Yeah.
Luke's very excited to have a full Anfield again. But yeah, that also makes a big difference when you play such a intense brand of football as well.
They kind of play as well with Leeds, especially like when you put like the lower end side of the table and teams that come up. I don't think they fear any team.
Yeah,
they just play the same way consistently.
Like,
don't
look
they?
at the opening game of the campaign last season. 4-3 they took us to. They played us like we were playing Man United City.
Liverpool fan, just contextualising.
Yeah, but They took the game completely to us.
Yeah.
There was no fear. Premier League champions, they're like, who cares?
Yeah.
Went straight for us. And I think they played every single game like that. Even if it backfired, I think even Bielsa hinted that they wouldn't change. But it's like from the game against you guys, like, didn't back down.
It didn't back down, but I think that's their biggest weakness in the sense that if a team gets it right against them, then they look weak.
You're speaking about the Man United demolition. That
6-1.
And you say that because they spread their team so far apart and they look to capitalise on 1v1 ability.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have the fitness and the recovery runs to make up the shape. So they go the 3-3-1-3, and a lot of it is spreading the opposition so far apart where every battle on the pitch is a 1v1.
Yeah.
And I think Bielsa creates the mental strength for his players to win that 1v1 battle.
It must be so hard as well because they know that if they make a mistake, it could potentially give away a goal.
Yeah. When they turn over possession, they're probably the weakest team in the league on turnovers.
At recovery.
Because not at recovery, just like their shape on turnover is so spread apart.
Yeah.
Where
They're just susceptible to...
And it showed in that Man United match. It showed in many matches last season where they were conceding loads. But I think one thing that I wanted to add on with the 1v1 situations, like they're improving on that in terms of the quality of player that they have. Rafinha didn't play the start of last season, if I'm correct. Rodrigo was in and out of the team. He never really bedded in.
You got people like Junior Firpo coming in as well for Alioski.
They're increasing the ability of these players, and if they slot in how the regular players do, like your Stuart Dallas's, who was exceptional last season, but maybe a European pedigree, will improve that team to a next level. So
they're not a team of individuals at all, but individually their roles are so important that if one gets it wrong, it can destroy the whole team.
Exactly.
That's why I think it's probably, other than the Cities, Liverpool, it's probably the most intense system to play in the Premier League. I think, did they cover the most ground last season?
Yeah, they were the
highest
pressers.
So I think they've got the individually most demanding system, and they must be, the way Bielsa must have them mentally drilled.
Right.
Especially coming into a season like it was in the Premier League last year. It was kind of the unknown as well. With it being like the first full season behind closed doors, I think it was well impressive what they did last season.
Yeah.
So you're saying from that, they're going to drop down one place, stick around a similar position?
I think if they cut out their mistakes, there's no reason why they can't finish Europa League.
Yeah.
But I feel like
it's hard to cut out mistakes.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Their system relies so heavily on that I feel like they need a massive upgrade in defence.
Yeah.
They need probably...
You say that, players like Struijk was one of the standout players for Leeds last season. They didn't have Bradley Cooper.
As well.
It's not Bradley Cooper, that's the...
No, Bradley Cooper's Liam Cooper. You're on about.
I'm on about Liam Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, American Sniper does not fit.
Yeah, but they didn't have Liam Cooper as their captain. Yeah. But the players that jump, like after a full season of settling in, I think defensively they might improve.
Yeah,
I don't think that's, even when you say like they might fall down a place in the table, I don't even think that's bad for Leeds.
Yeah,
I think it shows,
absolutely isn't. No.
I think it shows just how good they are.
But you said you had West Ham in that position. Are you putting Leeds higher up, or do they not? Oh, so
it's higher up.
So where would you put Leeds?
I think. Can I just do a quick check?
Yeah, go on.
I think I put Leeds 8th.
8th, and I put them 9th. So literally, we're agreeing.
It's crazy though that they literally promoted last season.
Yeah,
and we're talking about them being in the top 10 consistently.
So if you've gone 8th, you've gone 10th for Leeds, I've gone 9th. Mm-hmm. We'll stick them in around that ballpark, maybe like a 9th for now.
Yeah.
You said West Ham 10th.
Yeah.
They missed out on my top 10. I had them in 12th. Where were they for you?
9th.
9th.
Yeah, they were next.
So in that sense, you guys are arguing for them to be in.
Yeah.
Let's quickly just touch on West Ham. What do you think that they have that can keep them?
I feel like they've lost
Jesse Lingard,
who was partly responsible for their purple patch last year.
Yeah.
But they've got Saeed Benrahma.
Yeah, I think he's going to really... I think it was a bit quiet when he first came to West Ham, but I think now's the time he's really going to kick on and show what he was like in the Championship. I think he's the perfect one to just slip in there for Jesse Lingard too. And I think his pre-season has been insane. I think he's got the most assists in pre-season. The goals he's been scoring as well has been brilliant. I think they've got a perfect light for light, really.
So this episode's going out on Sunday, most likely. So some Premier League matches might have been played. So if Ben Rama's done a madness, you've heard it here first.
West Ham plays Saturday.
I think they play Newcastle on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great game.
That should be a good game. But again, my argument, so you're saying that the quality that they're losing in Jesse Lingard, they're retaining in Ben Rama.
Yeah, that's filled.
And do you think that just projects them to stay at a similar level in that case?
I feel like David Moyes is underrated as a manager.
Oh, right, okay.
I do. And that's coming from a United fan as well.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like once you build something at a club, you can see consistency for multiple seasons.
That's true, yeah.
And we saw that at Everton for quite a few years.
I do think the 6th place finish that they got last year was very deceptive in the sense that I think, again, like you said, they hit a purple patch. A lot of players hit form at the right time.
Yeah.
Whilst I do think a lot of these players are quality players, I really like Souček and Kufal.
You've got Declan Rice, Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah, so I do think they're good players, but I think a lot of it has to be all these players hit a high level of themselves, because players like Mikel Antonio is notorious for being sometimes he has really good patches. I think a lot of it has to come together for West Ham to continue how well they did last season. And that's why I think, not awful, they dropped down just to 12th for me, but...
I think they've got... I don't think it's like... No offence to you, but I don't think it's like David Moyes being underrated. I don't know if he is. But I feel like he's just hit at the right time. He's got the perfect players and squads together for the way he wants to play with West Ham.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I put them as 10th is I think they're going to have one of them seasons where it's going to be up and down at some points, but there'll be small like bits of consistency where they'll hit, like I say, a run of 5 games without a defeat, or maybe they'll just make sure they keep taking points in areas where maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And they'll just stay at that level playing field all season. But I think they've got this squad that is... They've got a squad now where they can start to hover around that and stop worrying about the bottom ends of the table, in my opinion anyway.
And obviously they're really good at set pieces, like you alluded to, and that can take points off pretty much any team in the league.
Yeah.
So again, we'll average it out. I went 12th, you went 10th.
We said 9th and 10th.
So we'll say West Ham 10th, Leeds 9th. That's what we're going with so far.
We write it down so we don't forget it.
We've got it. We should be having a graphic on the side in that, probably that way.
This side.
Yeah. There should be a graphic there, and it should be filling out
Graphic
as long as I could be asked to edit it. So
You could be asked.
yeah, I probably will be asked.
You should be, no mind.
But yeah, we'll move on to 8th place. Last year's 8th place was Arsenal. This time round, what are we saying? I'll tell you who mine were. I went Aston Villa for 8th place. I think a lot of people are expecting them to do fairly well considering they've lost their main player. And that's down to the work of their sporting director that they got in a couple of seasons ago. I think his name's Johan Lang, and they got him from Copenhagen. And since they got him, they've started building from the team that was just surviving to a mid-table team. I don't know who you guys have got in 8th place, but
I've got Leeds.
You got Leeds. Who do you have around that? Like, so we've said Leeds already. So who do you have in 9th or 10th? 9th.
I had in 9th. I have Arsenal.
Okay, and who's your 10th, 9th, and 8th?
Arsenal.
You went Arsenal as well. Is that because you're predicting Villa to be higher or?
It is, yeah.
I've got Villa in 7th.
7th,
I think they're going to have an absolute blinder of you.
So we'll talk about Villa first before touching on Arsenal. Yeah. I've got Arsenal in 7th.
Yes, we've covered that. Basically.
So we've covered the area. We're just in different orders at this stage. Mm-hmm. So we're basically arguing who's finishing higher out of Arsenal and Villa. And you've got Villa ahead. So give your argument for why Villa are ahead of Arsenal.
Leon Bailey, Buendia, Twanzebe, Danny Ings.
Danny Ings is the key one.
So you're saying their transfers are immaculate?
It's very easy to say, obviously you buy players, they don't necessarily fit a system. You don't know how they're going to play for Villa, but they're 3 quality players, and then Twan Zebe, who's a solid centre back who's already played for Villa.
Yeah, he's projected to bed in quite nicely considering he was there before.
Danny Ings, though, like you're looking at, if you can keep him fit, he will get you 15 goals in the league guaranteed. In my opinion, I mean, what did he get last season? Southampton 17.
I think he got something like that.
Yeah, but I think if you can keep him fit, and you play him in a good team up with like the service, someone like Emi Buendia in there, and you've got players like John McGinn in behind, you'll have potentially Leon Bailey, depends how he does in the Premier League, but Danny Ings, if you can keep it, you've got 20 goals a season potentially, and when he's firing, he'll score goals against anybody.
Like one of the things we were worried about when we heard about Villa was how they're going to replace Grealish's creativity, and they've got Buendia, who was
still got 19 assists. Traore and Anwar El Ghazi who were there from last season as well. But
unreal in the Championship, Buendia.
Didn't he get like 32 goal involved? No, he didn't.
Yeah, it was 15 goals, 16 assists, Buendia, I believe.
Like, we know it's a Championship, but like we've seen it before with Grealish.
We've seen Buendia in the Prem.
We've seen him in the Prem. That was for Norwich. I think he's in a better team now. We'll actually see.
He created, I think it was the 3rd most chances in the league the season that he was in, at Norwich as well. So yeah, you said there's creativity there.
And there's goals.
I think as well, there's Ollie Watkins, who was brilliant for them last season.
Yeah.
They've got a solid backline, like Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings did really well, even though Tyrone Mings isn't my favourite footballer in the world, but I think they've got a solid backline, like Target. They're in a good place, Aston Villa, and I genuinely feel like they'll be pushing for the Europa League spots.
So I'm a bit hesitant on Aston Villa. I know I put them in 8th place, but I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped off, despite how well they've done to replace Grealish. And the sort of case study, if I make it really scientific, that I brought to the table, it was Tottenham when they lost Bale in 2013, and they lost a key ball progressor, and pretty much a team built around getting the ball to Bale and him being the talisman that creates space and creates moments, like pretty similar to how Grealish was for them last year. And obviously Tottenham in 2013-14 brought in, the famous host of shite that to replace Bale. Christian Eriksen, he was obviously the good one. You got Nasser Chadli, Lamella, Paulinho, Capu, Chiriches, Soldado. And in hindsight, they were all shit. But at the time, it was exciting. They've got a decent group of players that could replace Bale's output. But I do think that they might suffer from a similar fate of Spurs back then. Just because with a team so focused on getting the ball to one player and filtering their attacks through one player, I think to then spread the load, the creative burden across the players that they have, I think they might lose a sense of direction in attack.
I think that their transfers are a lot more smart than those, though.
Well, we're saying that, but in hindsight, we could look at it in a year's time and be like,
why did they sign?
That's true, but then you've got someone like Emi Buendia, like you mentioned, seasons in the Premier League, 3rd most created chances.
Lamella was coming in from Roma at the time as one of the hottest prospects in Europe.
That's true, but then it's like you've got players that have proved it already here. Like, if you look at their system, not how much he's really going to change. Yeah, they'll probably change stuff around, but it's just the pass the ball to Jack Grealish aspect. Yeah, I get that's gone.
Do you think that Dean Smith, in that sense, will keep the same system, just slot in different personnel from last year?
I don't know how much he has to change, but then again, when they were without Jack Grealish last season, they were bad.
Yeah,
that's when their purple patch, you want to call it again. That's when they really fell off when he was injured. But I feel like there will be a slight change. But I think when it comes to like ball progresses and creativity, I don't know how much they have to worry about, because I think they've got enough there with what they signed. I think they have players there, and I think they have what they've got available to them that they've bought is good enough. Again, Leon Bailey, I think he could maybe fall into a category like this, like maybe in the future. Yeah, maybe someone you might look at as a flop, because does he go straight in? I mean, probably what shirt number was he taking, like 9 or something?
I'm not sure, but he's a £28 million signing, which is fairly big money.
True,
yeah.
but I think that when you're signing someone like Danny Ings, you just if you can feed the ball to him like they're going to be able to, if you think he's getting 17 goals in a Southampton side, think what he can do in a side like that.
I think Villa, obviously they will want to adapt. They don't want to be overly reliant on the left-hand side they were last year. And then I don't think Leon Bailey is going to replace Jack Grealish.
Do you think Buendia is going to replace Jack Grealish?
No, but I feel like they've got three, well, they can play it through the middle. They can go either side now. I mean, their biggest thing this season is going to be spreading apart where they attack from and attacking from the right-hand side.
I agree with that, but I just think it'll result in a lack of penetration in their attacks. A lot of, I think Villas-Boas got sacked after losing to Liverpool 5-0.
Yeah.
And in that match, they completed a lot of passes, but it was all side to side for Spurs. And I don't know why. I just have a similar feeling that we might see a sort of side stagnating when
Could
they
you
get
argue
to the
though that Villa are in kind of a better place than when Spurs were then?
I think you can. I'm just drawing similarities. And either way, I've still got Villa in 8th place.
Yeah.
I just think that in terms of firepower, Arsenal are just a bit ahead. And that's why I put Arsenal higher up.
Oh, yeah, well, let's talk about Arsenal.
Let's move
I'd
to
oppose
Arsenal.
that.
You'd oppose that?
I don't think they do. I think that they just purely don't have enough, and I'm not too sure how much I buy into the Arteta's got this on lot and he's ready for it. I don't even know if he'll survive the season, if you want me to be honest. Then the argument to firepower, I think that Aubameyang finished. X next to his name, finished. The guy's washed.
The guy's washed. Wow.
Oh, I personally...
I agree. That's the funny thing.
I think Aubameyang's done. Last season...
I think he was washed last year.
Yeah, so do I. And I feel his last top level performance was the golden boot he got.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't think we've seen more, and I don't expect to see more. I think Lacazette has been...
Do you think he should play on the left wing, Aubameyang?
No, he should be playing through the middle, but Arteta's not...
I agree. I don't know why. I've watched him a bit in pre-season, and I get that they're basically trying to play him a bit more narrow.
Are they still playing him left wing?
They're playing him left wing, yeah. But they're playing him more narrow than he was last time and allowing like the fullback to push forward.
So I'm guessing they're still playing the 3-4-3 sort of...
They were alternating. They were playing a fullback at sometimes.
Yeah.
But in possession, they'll probably drop into like a 3-4-3 maybe.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I don't know why I have put Arsenal ahead now after hearing...
I just think as well, like, so if you look at their full team, I mean, their best player, probably, he's arguably the best player in Thomas Partey, their marquee signing a while ago.
Right. I'd say Bukayo Saka's their best player.
I think Saka's the one to watch for Arsenal. I think, to be fair, he's not playing left wing back now. I think he'll definitely play right.
I think he's on the right.
Emile Smith-Rowe getting number 10. They'll be the two creative outlets for Arsenal, we're assuming.
I don't think that's a bad duo.
How good really are they?
Like, no, they're not. They're not.
Is Emile Smith-Rowe overhyped?
Probably.
I mean, I might be wrong.
I mean,
but
I don't hear a lot of hype about him, to be fair.
No, I've not heard too much.
I don't think he's it's just typical Arsenal.
Yeah. But I do think they've got a lot of decent players there that can progress and carry on. But again, same old Arsenal. And with same old Arsenal, it usually capitulates around 7th or 8th place.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I know I put Villa behind Arsenal, but I'm happy to drop Arsenal down. So 8th place Arsenal, 7th place Villa is what we're going with.
So we've gone West Ham.
But you're saying Villa 7th?
Leeds.
I mean, you guys put them high. Are you going to put them higher up than 7th?
Yeah.
Oh shit! So who do you have as your
Spurs?
7th? So you're putting both of...
So how have we done this?
Yeah, North London's finished.
We've done West Ham,
Leeds,
Arsenal, Villa.
Well, we've not decided because he's saying Spurs. Are you putting Villa higher than 7th?
I've got Villa bob on in 7th.
So we got... So it's just on you now to make your case for why Spurs are worse than Villa. Yeah. So we'll try to keep it brief.
To be fair...
A minute on the clock.
To be fair, I think it can alternate.
Right.
Obviously, they've got Nuno Espirito Santo coming in.
Do you rate him?
I rate, but he's working with a new set of players now.
Right.
Who are essentially a top 6 team, top 7 team after last year. But it's essentially a new pool of players that Nuno has to work with.
Yeah.
And also a new sort of way of playing. When you are at that level, it's a lot different than when you're Wolves.
But saying that, honestly, with Nuno, he had such a talented pool of Wolves players.
True.
But my criticism with him is he was playing very pragmatic football.
Yeah.
And in that sense, they've just got a shit version of Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
And they got rid of him for the reasons of he was playing pragmatic, boring football.
Yeah.
And I'm not doubting the fact that Nuno can't adapt because he's a smart guy. I mean,
To be honest, I don't think he will.
but you think he will play?
No, he doesn't have to. I think that's why they've actually appointed him, because you know what you're getting with him.
I genuinely don't think it's a bad idea. Like, you're saying it's like a Paul Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Like, it's. I think Jose Mourinho's probably, in hindsight, you can always say right man, wrong time.
Yeah.
But if that was Jose Mourinho 10 years ago, it's a different story. But
Even still, I think Jose did an okay job.
I mean, he was top of the league until
Cup final.
And my problem with this is they scrapped Jose because of the direction he was going in, and they were playing boring football. I have a mate who's a Spurs fan who was fucking over the moon at like December time, like Jose's the best, Jose's this. By fucking come March, when like he was just Jose out straight away, and it's because of the style of football. And they've got Ryan Mason, fuck me, and then they've got Nuno, who's just the same identity as Jose. And I think in that sense, the players, they'll be refreshed. And it's like, the new manager bounce. But ultimately, I think it comes down to a quite pragmatic system which they'll capitulate under.
Yeah, I think they've got him in because it's a bit of a tricky time at Spurs right now. Like, no one really knows what direction they're going in. Are they progressing? Are they going backwards? Losing Harry Kane is a massive hit.
It's on the cards, isn't it?
And I think they've signed Nuno basically because he's one of those managers who can just shut out the noise. He's one of those who just plays his style of football and can just
grinds points.
It just grinds points, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's good with the media as well, so I feel like it's just
It's a safe
the thing is though, for example, when our teams play Wolves, when under Nuno, you didn't think it was an easy game. It was a tough game, and I think Tottenham's squad is better.
Of course,
Wolves.
yeah.
I would argue that you only thought it was a tough game. Well, I did anyway, because it was hard to score.
Yeah.
Rather than you felt like you were being threatened on the other side.
Of course, they had the individuals of Adama.
Adama, Jimenez, they make you shit yourself. Let's be honest. When Adama runs through 3
especially
players
when
and
Jimenez
Jimenez is running off the back of your centre back, you
To be
think.
fair, when they had Jota as well,
Yeah.
like it was a similar feeling.
So we've discussed Nuno at Spurs. I think you alluded to a big factor that sort of decides where Spurs finishes, whether Harry Kane stays
That's
or goes.
exactly my reasoning.
So for this, because this affects another team in, like higher up.
Yeah.
So for this prediction,
I reckon we say he stays.
he stays.
Yeah.
He
You
stays.
take it as it is right now.
Yeah.
We take it as it is right now. No Harry Kane moving.
Yeah.
No Harry Kane.
Right, okay, then it supports where I put Spurs in the tail end.
So, in that sense, are you happy to have Spurs above Villa if Harry Kane stays? Just based off sheer output of Kane and Son, I think that trumps anything Villa's got going. Are you happy?
I agree,
Yeah.
but I also think it's close. So I will.
I genuinely think we
I've
might
got-
be looking back at this thinking, why did we estimate Villa so
Villa-
well?
They might win the league. No.
That's going to be the start. That's going to be the start. Villa might win the
I've
league.
got Spurs in 5th.
Spurs in 5th.
I do, yeah.
Right, so
To be fair,
gonna-
you have convinced me otherwise. I was sort of assuming. He can change, but I can't.
So we're going to go Villa in 7th. Spurs in 6th. Didn't you put them higher up?
I put them 5th.
So does that mean Leicester is in 6th?
Does mean Leicester in 6th.
So now we're doing Spurs versus Leicester. We've had our piece on Spurs. Give us why you think Leicester will drop down.
I think
place.
because they've been so close to getting Champions League football 2 seasons in a row. They've been literally pulling at the top 4, and they were in it for they always bottle it.
Yeah.
But I think this year it's going to be one of those years. It's a bit of a reality check where it's like they think they're so close, But I don't think they're going to get as close as what they have been recent seasons. And I think it's nothing to do with I think they're bad or I think Brendan Rodgers is going to have a nightmare. I just think that the quality in the league this year is going to step up again.
Right. And do you think Leicester's been a team that's sort of been exploiting the lack of consistency from other teams?
Maybe so, yeah. Even the year when we won the league, when there was fans in the stadium, I still think that there was quality that in other teams that wasn't showing up when they were at their best. And I think this year, I think that it's going to wear off with Leicester eventually for me. And I think that now they're just going to fall short. Obviously, sixth for a club like Leicester is still brilliant to get another top six finish.
Yeah.
Further staking their name as the new member of the Big Six, kicking like Arsenal out.
Yeah.
But I think that now it's the time that this novelty's going to wear off, and they're now going to start. They're going to hit sixth, and it's going to start to slow down.
A lot of that is because other teams have strengthened,
and I think we'll see a more depleted. I said this last season, it was very wrong, and I said depleted Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, and he still carried. Well, that's the thing. Saying that, I want to sort of give the opposite argument. Jack, you can jump onto the argument if you want to take over, but they have brought in like the likes of Patson Daka, Samari. I think Vestergaard's just signed recently as well.
Is he signed?
He's gone. It's Fabrizio's literally said today that he's in Leicester's done.
Right. Okay.
Southampton.
And Harvey Barnes. Oh yeah, Southampton might be struggling. But saying that, they've got some good signings in. They've got Harvey Barnes, who was injured towards the end of last season, who's pretty. I think Harvey Barnes is quality. I think he can really kick on again this season. There's a lot of optimism, a lot to be optimistic about at Leicester, and that's why I think they'll actually edge Spurs in that sense. And I just think Brendan Rodgers has, like you said, Nuno's coming in with a new pool of players. Brendan Rodgers knows what he needs to get out of the players he's got, and he has a system that accommodates them to a T.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, that's my argument for why Leicester are above Tottenham at least.
I think their team has only got better after this transfer window. I think Ricardo Pereira is coming back. I think
Castagna was injured a lot last year.
Castagna was injured a lot, yeah. So we're playing James Justin like all over the place.
And he was all right.
James Justin's back in November too.
Yeah.
Luke Thomas, who came in and did a great job.
But I also think that they'll progress Tielemans a little bit further forward this time round.
Right.
Because I think they've signed Samari, and I don't think he's like a little bench player. I've got a feeling that they're going to try and develop and play a double pivot.
Right.
And try and almost prepare for Madison leaving.
Ndidi
and Samari, and you're saying Tielemans up front.
Yeah, Tielemans in like a little...
Madison dropped.
Attacking midfield.
Well, it looks like he might be on the verge of...
Yeah.
Will he, won't he, with Arsenal?
Well, Brendan Rodgers said that he expects him to stay from now.
Okay.
I mean,
he was out of the squad towards last season for disciplinary issues a lot. So
he looks like a type, doesn't he?
So
Quiff and clocks on his arm.
that might be some of our audience. You never know. You might.
Well, if it is, Jesus.
Luke's making enemies.
James Madison's watching this.
Fucking
analysing his clock and roses on his arm.
punching the fucking air.
Now he actually has like meaningful tattoos. I just think to the guy.
So, even with Madison out, you said Tielemans moving forward, and we're going to touch on a little segment about players. I think Tielemans was your guy.
I mean, we'll talk about it a bit later, but I really rate him.
Right.
Very highly.
So, it's up to you. Well, it isn't. There's 2 versus 1. Leicester.
No, I'm completely fine with that. Mine's just a bold shout.
So, Spurs in 6th.
Leicester 5th.
Leicester 5th.
I fully agree with that.
And now we get to the big boys. The top 4. So,
4th.
Top 4. That's where we're at right now. North London clubs miss out. Leicester miss out. Where do we want to start? Who's your 4th place, Jack? We'll start with that. You don't know yourself, do you?
No, I do. I'm just scared.
Because I know what you're going to say and I'm going to... Go on.
Liverpool. It's actually Liverpool.
My 19th is Man United.
Liverpool, right. Give us your argument for Liverpool. Is it... Well, how do you think Liverpool's season is going to go, and why do you think they're going to finish 4th?
I think it's not so much that they're going to have a bad season. I genuinely feel like this top 4 is going to be extremely interesting. like it's going to be extremely close
to the end.
I feel like there's going to be 4 teams who are sort of at each other's necks
All the way to the end.
Not to the end.
It always ends up 2, right?
Yeah. But I feel like they'll fall. I feel like there'll be a certain amount of teams. Well, not teams. I feel like there'll be a certain amount of time where these 4 teams are basically at each other's necks, right. And then eventually you'll see Chelsea, City drop off, like just go forward. But I feel like United and Liverpool will actually be quite close.
So you're saying, I'm guessing Liverpool and United...
They can alternate, if that makes you feel better. Like, I'm not certain on 3rd and 4th. That's the one I was sort of switching between. But I will stick to my guns and say Liverpool 4th.
So we'll delve more into Liverpool tactically as well.
Yeah.
Of course, earlier on in Klopp's regime, we're talking about like the Kiev season when Salah went mental. The press that they had, I just wanted to bring this up. Luke, you could elaborate on it a bit more as well. But the press that they had was a triangular press. We might have it on the graphic on the side over there, just over there somewhere. It was very triangular in the sense that Firmino instigated the press.
Forced it one side,
and then the wingers would sort of narrow into and box him off the side. And in that sense, turnovers happened with the wingers getting the ball first, sliding through Firmino holding it up almost, and then trying to create for the wingers to finish it off. And that reflects in Firmino's best ever goal scoring season, because he was usually the one closest to the goal. Mm-hmm. In 17-18 it was, Firmino, 54 games, 27 goals, 17 assists. And I think that was very much down to the structure of Jurgen Klopp's press. The second season comes round, and I think Jurgen Klopp tweaked it just to keep it a bit more unpredictable. Mm-hmm. And in the sense, he had Firmino drop back into more conventional false 9 role, which he does play anyway, but more in like what's in a defensive shape. He dropped back.
He's more of a 10 in that defensive shape. And the strikers become more or less strikers.
And they instigate the press. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So the right forward and the left forward instigated the press, and they still forced them wide. Mm-hmm. But instead of having the defenders try pass around them, hopefully the graphics...
They had to pass it in.
They had to pass inside the field, where now Firmino and some of the midfielders...
Henderson and Wijnaldum would shut them off.
They'd shut them off, win the ball, and now it was Firmino at a deeper position, sliding through the wingers. And that's why the wingers carried on playing at a high level and scoring goals, and Firmino's numbers probably declined, but his creative numbers probably went up slightly.
And I think, like Klopp said about why that system changed, well, Pep Linders said it, that system changed because if you want to win league titles, sustaining that huge press we had, it left us weak at the back, and it caused us problems. And the second we changed system, all right, Firmino's numbers depleted, but then you see Salah and Mane stayed consistent.
And it's more sustainable in terms of fatigue.
And it meant we had, in those games, you're kind of having to go toe-to-toe with the team to ensure that you get the goals and win. With that press where Firmino instigates it, but in the one where he drops in, it doesn't mean that we have to be as toe-to-toe with the team. We can just control the game and manage it, and that was what made us be as successful as we were.
And that was in the 18-19 season, which was when you pushed City all the way, and you won the Champions League.
And then we continued it into
I think season. It was a more sustainable team around that time.
Yeah.
And sort of where this big tangent sort of leads to is, how do you think Jurgen Klopp will change the press for Liverpool this year round? And how will that affect Liverpool's standing in the leagues? That's what I wanted to ask you.
It's really difficult because it goes on team selection, and it goes on how if he changes his setup, because you've got in my opinion, like the potential change with Thiago. Like, does he stay in the Wijnaldum role, or towards the end of the season, especially in the games against like Burnley, against Southampton, he started to operate higher up in the pitch, especially when Fabinho came back, like against Man United too. He was a lot higher up than we ever saw Wijnaldum, and we anticipated him to be. So that could be a change, but the main person is Firmino or Jota. If it's Jota, he'll instigate the press.
So it'll be more like the 17-18 press, where we saw Firmino as the furthest forward.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But it all depends how that front three play with each other, because when it's Jota, Mane, Salah, they're very interchangeable. and you'll see Salah sometimes in the number 9 with Jota on the right line. They completely switch round. But I feel with Jota, he'll have to, if he is in that pressing system, he will be the one, like Firmino, to instigate forward first.
Right, okay.
And how that works with us, I'm unsure.
Do you think it suits the current squad to be more of a sort of high intensity toe-to-toe pressing side, like you said, in 17-18? Especially because with that press, you need so much recovery pace because your team's so high up. Yeah. And you've got Kanate, and you've got Joe Gomez back in, you've got Van Dijk back in. It may suit you to go back to that variation of Jurgen Klopp's press with Jota up front. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact that you also have the sort of luxury of having Firmino as well, you can change it depending on opposition.
I honestly think as well, like, I actually think playing the old 17-18 press is better against the big teams.
Yeah.
Like, especially, I mean, look at the Man City teams we played against. Like, for instance, of recent times when we've gone more try and control the game against City and not as toe-to-toe, I think the game's been a lot more closer. But when Klopp used to just go typical gegenpress, get on, we seem to just run City over.
Yeah.
So in the big games, that might be the better choice for us. And especially against a team, say, against Tuchel's Chelsea, I think if we try and manage the game too much against them, we could end up causing ourselves problems with that high line and stuff with the new team they're about to build. But see, and I think that's what you say, the luxury of having Firmino and Jota allows us to change. So I don't think it'll be how will Liverpool change their press. I think they'll just make the best of both worlds in the system and use the versatility to their own advantage.
And in that sense, that's an improvement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with what we had last year, which was a dysfunctional press because of the big injuries.
Yeah.
And because of that, you'd expect them to improve on where they finished last year. Mm-hmm. Or I know they finished third last year. It was a bit sort of like
10 games in a row. Yeah, people say, did you fluke it? Did you not? But I think if you look at the way why that happened is like when you have your best midfielder in Fabinho in your back line, because Fabinho's our lighthouse.
Yeah.
The man, he allows everybody to do everything else because he can shield. And when you have him in midfield, we've never seen Liverpool's strongest three in midfield together. We've never seen Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago.
And he's the anchor for your press to go.
Exactly.
So he holds the middle part for the likes of Wijnaldum and Henderson or maybe this year it'll be Thiago and Henderson to go, and he's the trigger most of the time. So in that sense, you have them in fourth. Luke, I'm not going to ask you where they are, but you don't agree with that?
No.
Right. So I'm sort of the deciding vote in where I put them. And I will just have a quick look to remind myself. I put them in third. Right. So I don't know how we advance from this point.
This is because we'll have...
We're trying to build the suspense.
You'll have a team in second who Luke thinks is in fourth and I think in third.
We'll just say our fourth choice.
Fourth choice. So who's your third place? If Man United.
Well,
who's your fourth or third place?
My fourth is Chelsea.
And who's your third?
Man United.
And then I have Chelsea in fourth as well.
Yeah.
So that pretty much nails Chelsea on for fourth, really.
It looks like that. And my third was Liverpool. So...
Well, Chelsea's probably having to go fourth.
Okay.
Where's your Chelsea?
First.
Do you know that well?
This is mental.
Well, he's gonna.
All right.
Do you want me to tell you my first is? Because
fuck it, let's go for it.
It's a complete reverse. Liverpool.
Really?
Right, let's go for it. Jack, if this is sort of boggling your mind, if you're listening on Spotify and you don't really have the visuals, we're sorry.
Fourth. We're gonna have to say. Well, it's hard this now. What we're gonna have to do is just say our top four.
What I reckon we do is just each go through our top four and just say the four teams and why, like briefly.
Yeah.
And then bring it together.
Right. Okay. So,
who's going first?
Jack.
Okay.
We've heard the most from you. Actually, no, we haven't. That's a lie. But continue.
So, I'll say why I think Liverpool are fourth. I don't think it's a bad place to be. Like,
yes, it is.
It is when you're Liverpool.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but you compete with City, United, and Chelsea as well.
So you said why Liverpool?
Yeah.
And who? Go through them.
Okay, so it all comes down to me about squads. And right, Man United third. Let's talk about Man United third first. I think we were overly reliant on the left-hand side for the majority of last season. And the introduction of Sancho has basically meant that we're going to attack down both flanks this time. More attacking outlets. And we're solidified at the defence in Rafael Varane. So we'll look better defensively, better going forward. And we finished second last year. That's not a reflection of where we'll finish this year because teams have strengthened. But I just see us... I actually think we have a better squad than Liverpool. Is that right to say? Yeah?
Yeah.
Your argument, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I think we actually finished third and Liverpool fourth.
Translate that into on the pitch. You're saying squad, you're saying this player's coming in. What does that actually translate to on the pitch? I know
Man United.
For Man United, you said they balance out the right wing. How does it create a more lethal Manchester United? What does Sancho and Varane coming in actually translate to Man United doing on the pitch?
What we were overly reliant on last year, especially away from home, is comebacks.
Right.
And that's because we usually concede first. Introduction of Rafael Varane means the goals we score away from home now are essentially to win the game, not to come back from a lead that we've already given away.
Right, okay.
And also Jadon Sancho coming in, I think he massively takes the pressure off Wan-Bissaka because we've seen Wan-Bissaka, I think he's got better going forward over time at Man United, but Sancho takes the pressure off him. He almost says, okay, give me the ball rather than carry it yourself because Greenwood quite likes to tuck inside and play as a second striker.
I disagree with that.
You don't think Greenwood plays as a second striker?
I think that's the problem, that he isn't playing as a second striker. I have a video / post planned.
I agree with you. I agree. He comes to Wan-Bissaka too much and almost says, look, take the ball, and then attacks defenders and almost gets in the box from there, creates it himself. I feel like Sancho is a creator.
Right.
Greenwood isn't a creator.
Right.
And so that's why he takes the pressure off Wan-Bissaka. Because Wan-Bissaka essentially says, like, look, me and Greenwood have to make something. Sancho almost is capable of creating something on his own.
So you're saying what that entails is you've got Varane who should solidify the defence, and that translates to conceding less when we concede away from home, like you said, and have to come back.
Yeah.
And then you're saying on the right wing, it becomes a more Sancho attacks, Wan-Bissaka defence sort of, and it's more balanced in that sense.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have a video / post planned where I'm going to delve into my opinions on Man United's right wings, so I won't go into it too much here.
Yeah.
But my problem with I do agree with you that Man United, well, I have them in second. And the reason why I think that is, without ruining my post / video for the full explanation, Wan-Bissaka is sort of like an underlapping, recently, for the last year, is an underlapping fullback. And I think that's because Ollie realised he was pretty much useless
When he's as far wide as he can be.
Because he collects the ball, and when Trent collects the ball, for example, in the same position, it's about threat. It's not about what he does exactly. It's about how much are the opposition scared of the player on the overlap. When Trent gets it, it's shit. We got to prepare for a cross. And there's a lot of press Trent. You have to. When Wan-Bissaka got it, when he first came in the first season, it was like, let him have the ball. He won't do too much. I think Ollie realised that he had a passenger on the right side. So what he flipped that to was Wan-Bissaka underlapping, which meant the right winger, who last year was Greenwood, Rashford or Pogba mostly, becomes the exterior player, the player that is in Trent's role if he was to play Liverpool. Imagine Salah playing in Trent's role and Trent playing in Salah's role. It's completely...
Okay. Yeah.
So now what that entails is you've got a player in Wan-Bissaka who's running into the Salah spot, the right forward the right forward spot, who isn't going to get shots off. He's not a threat in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, he scored a goal against Newcastle where he scored from that right forward spot, but you're sort of negating the threat there. So there's no right forward half space spot. There's not a player there that's going to start shooting like Salah would for Liverpool. And then on the outside, you've got a Greenwood who has to now run past about 3 players to get close to having a shot. And he's also got Wan-Bissaka in the place who's congesting the area.
Yeah.
You've got Rashford who has to do the same. And what that's resulted in is Rashford playing right wing and just twatting crosses. I think you've seen that. And it's impressive, fair enough.
It's shown how much of a range of passing he has, but it's just not Rashford.
If he was in the right forward spot or like closer to goal, you'd get more shots off. And again, I said I didn't want to ruin the post, but I think I've gone into it now. And then you have Pogba as well, who's creative on the right hand side, who's not taking shots. And a stat that I wanted to mention, I think I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but
Nice, it's good.
Salah, Liverpool's XG from the right is about 4.5. A StatsBomb did a report, and that's what the XG was from there. XG on a dribble, sorry. Right? So it's sort of like shot creating actions from the right wing.
Right.
Man United is like way down on like 2.8 StatsBomb.
Yeah. I'm not
So
surprised.
it's showing that when our players are dribbling off the right, we're not creating shots compared to the likes of Liverpool. And I think the reason why I put Man United second is similar to what you said with Sancho coming in. Whether Sancho goes off to the right and plays as the creative player, he's more well-versed at dribbling to create a shot, even as the exterior-sided player. And even if you put Wan-Bissaka back as the exterior-sided player, Sancho is, again, more well-versed as the inside player to create a shot. And I think that creates a stronger, more well-balanced Man United.
It essentially opens up half the pitch.
Just one thing as well I wanted to ask about, you said about having Varane stops you having to come back in games when you're away from home. So does that result in you expect to see more control from United in those away games instead of having that? Because I think United's whole thing last season away from home was these counter-attacks that were just 4 passes goal. Like you just tear, it was like one end of the pitch and like 10 seconds goal.
The thing that worried me as well is that we'd almost concede just as fast.
Right, okay.
And so it's like stupid mistakes we concede from, and we just think, oh shit, like we've conceded, might concede 2, but then that's always in the back of my head, like, oh, we'll come back, and we did. What I want is that control, like you said, from Varane. I don't want to concede first.
So that's what I was saying. Do you think that's what it gives you more control?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it also, like, again, on the pitch, I think it brings us to have the ability to play a higher line.
Yeah.
Because with Lindelof and Maguire, there's no pace to recover. Like, do you know how I was saying with Konate Konate and Van Dijk earlier?
And we did drop deep. Like,
we were
seriously dropped deep.
I remember Gary Neville doing a piece on Sky Sports where we literally stood on the edge of our 18-yard box.
I know about. It's like he did it on the Liverpool game, didn't he?
And it was so frustrating. It's like sprint out. And I think, again, you play a higher line. Your players can now instigate a press. We've got really quick players to hit people when, say, if we do win the ball back on a press, we can hit people whilst they're weak.
Yeah.
And I think all this comes to United.
Yeah. And we saw in the Euros as well that we need to get Maguire as far up the pitch as we can because he's a good passer with the ball. Yeah. Like, for a centre half's go, he's a very good passer. And I feel like when we actually were so deep, we'd almost think, okay, he's got the ball now. What does he do? He passes to Luke Shaw.
Yeah,
he kind of has that like. I think there's 2 centre backs in the league that I'd say that are the best at it. Him and Matip at stepping in. And I think Harry Maguire is one of his best qualities. He's one of the best centre backs in world football at doing it.
It's just the perfect moment.
Head's always up, straight through, but he always makes the pass. So I think Varane allows him to have more freedom when doing that too, and I think that gives United a lot more.
So where did you have United? Third. So you got Chelsea 4th. I've got Chelsea 4th. You got them first.
See, we've got similar like structure of the top 4, but I've just put Chelsea a lot higher.
Right.
So
you put them first.
I put them first, but essentially the key thing is you put United above Liverpool, and so have I.
Right. So that looks like an ongoing
So, well, really, what it probably is, it's probably wherever you put United second. Wherever you put United.
Third.
I've got them third. So if we've got 2 for Chelsea in fourth, 2 for United in third.
True. Where did Liverpool go?
Well, I've said first, you've said third, you've said fourth.
Yeah.
So Liverpool are like
So
could
it's
be in
like
every
the
position.
third. It's like
So how about
United
this, how
and
about this,
Liverpool
how
are
about
both in the
this?
third.
How about this? We've covered United, we've
Conversation.
covered Liverpool.
Yeah.
Let's go on to City or Chelsea, your pick. Because City's the big one, so we'll cover Chelsea quickly first.
Chelsea.
So, Luke, if you want to start with Chelsea.
And the reason why I've got them fourth is I think their start is really hard. And I think their start's really hard. And one of the things with the Tuchel thing is, obviously, I'm not trying to say I think Chelsea's overrated or anything, but I think they've been slightly, like, everyone's been like, look at this team. I think it's been a slight honeymoon period with Thomas Tuchel. I really do. Because I feel like, as well, when it do look so bad under Frank Lampard, like, terrible.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
For a Chelsea side,
I think
with that many players in it,
pretty bad.
with Werner,
in some
Havertz,
games.
as soon as Tuchel comes in, it always fits. Werner seems to like be what he's meant to. Obviously, he's not meant. He wasn't getting 20 goals in the season, but he was creating chances. He was being the off the run shoulder player. He was being what he was meant to be. With like Havertz was slowly starting to find his feet. But I feel like with Tuchel, I feel like things have just been a bit pushed to the front. Like Champions League winners, they are now the standard step, because I feel like everyone is putting City and Chelsea in the same pedestal. Well, we don't really know yet. Mm-hmm. It's hard to see. It's his first full season.
Do you think out of the top 4, Chelsea are the most unpredictable?
Yeah, because I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas Tuchel sat in his office now thinking, who the fuck do I play?
Because they got Lukaku today.
They've got Lukaku today. They've got all these options. Is he going to change system? Is he going to stay the same? How's he going to do it? Who's playing where?
So let's try put some sensibility to the madness. Some organisation.
He's gas for that.
Well,
we know the midfield's probably nailed on.
he's going to be 5 at the back. I don't think he's going to change that.
Yeah.
Jorginho and Kante.
Jorginho, Kante,
Mount, yeah.
He's going to go with them because I think they're the only part in his team where I think he's solid. Like they're the ones.
Right.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will play the 5-2-2-1 like they did against City in the final. I think they'll play Havertz and Mount just behind Lukaku. Because I feel like Tuchel's sort of, for me, it's starting to look more and more like Tuchel's side after last year. And that's not just because they won the Champions League or anything. I feel like, yes, it was a purple patch. Yes, it could have been a honeymoon period. We don't know yet. But if we're going off what we've seen from Tuchel at Chelsea, given Lukaku coming in, I feel like in terms of squad, in terms of squad depth, in terms of the manager, in terms of the way they play, I feel like everything is there for them to potentially win the league.
And you said it's turning into more of a Tuchel side. Mm-hmm. I have Chelsea in 4th. And I actually, we're not doing the European predictions, but I see them going far in Europe again. But you said with the Tuchel identity, Tuchel, I don't know if you've heard about the training thing that he does, where he plays on triangular pitches, where the net that they're scoring towards, the pitch becomes more and more narrow.
Yeah.
And that's to force his players to play in a more confined place.
That is smart.
Getting closer to the pitch.
Yeah.
And it's basically filtering your attack so it goes towards goal rather than capitulate when you get close. Mm-hmm. With Lukaku, who's developed his back to play goal scorer type abilities under Conte.
Well, he's world class at that.
Yeah, and he wasn't when he was at United. No. He was a world class player, but at that particular part of his game, he was better at running the channels.
Yeah,
and I think what you've got now is players that can do that Tuchel identity of going more narrow as you go towards the pitch. Because before we saw them Werner peel off, and it was a lot of runs in behind. And I think getting Lukaku, I think they wanted Haaland as an alternative. I think a lot of that is centred around doing what Tuchel wants and getting the ball within the space of the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good argument for Chelsea, but I do have them in 4th. Saying that.
But the thing is, well, the reason I don't have them in 4th, like I said, because I think the words, it was such a short-term period of when to judge them and a hard period to judge them because it went so well that they could easily start to slow down a bit, and they could have, the brakes might be put on just slightly towards like the middle, like Christmas period of the season, when they've already had a tough start. And the reason why I said that is I think they'll have a really tough start where they will probably drop a few points because I think they've got the hardest start out of everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
And then when you got that period where I think it will slowly slow down for them, I think the top teams will slowly just creep away from them to the point where it's too much to close.
So I think, saying that, we both have Chelsea 4th. We'll stick them 4th, but we are aware that you're saying they're to win the league.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Chelsea 4th. You had 2 people saying Man United 3rd.
Yeah.
I do think they'll finish 2nd, personally. But again, we'll agree to disagree. 2 people versus 1. Man United a 3rd.
I mean, if you're taking Chelsea out of the equation, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only reason Man United are in 3rd for me is because I think Chelsea finished 1st. Take them out of the equation, I agree. Man United 2nd.
Right, okay. So now it looks like we're going Man City, Liverpool again. How fucking entertaining is that? I
mean, we could always just put Man United and Liverpool undecided.
Yeah. So
I
Jack,
do agree that Liverpool and United is.
so I think we've all gone Man City at least top 2. I think we've all
Yeah,
Yeah,
second.
100%.
So
Well, see, because I would have had them 3rd if you said first. If you said Kane, City, if that was what we're doing, but I'm gonna go because if Kane's staying at Spurs, I'm putting them 2nd. But if Kane goes, I'm putting them 1st. So for this, 2nd.
right. So we'll just quickly ask a few questions about about City before we wrap up. I've got them 1st. You had Chelsea 1st. So I'll say why I think they're 1st. Despite having no striker, I mean, Lewis, who was our City friend, said that he thinks that with the no striker system, they're going to get sussed out eventually. But he doesn't really have a reason for that. It's just he feels that. And I don't think there is a reason for them to get sussed out with the false 9 system because it's not a conventional false 9.
Yeah.
In the sense that usually with a false 9, one player is assigned the false 9 role and he pulls players out of position. In this sense with City, they've got 4 players potentially that can play that false 9 role and pull players out of position. And I think that is... And they do it so almost like immaculately that they know when to do it. I still think that there's no team that could fully... Obviously, in games, certain games, some teams will beat them. But I don't think there's a team that can consistently... A group of teams that can consistently beat that false 9 system.
Yeah.
And with Grealish coming in, I think he'll play as a left centre mid, sort of in where David Silva played, where Gundogan played last year.
Yeah.
And I just think it'll be even more relentless in the sense that you don't know who to pick up. That's my case for City.
With the Jack Grealish system, though, personally, I think he's better off the left wing because I don't think we've really seen him in a central midfield role. So how does he deal with the difference in playing central midfield? What's it come to when, I don't know, City off the ball? What's it going to be like in that area?
Yeah.
What's it going to be like in that area?
It's demanding as well.
Yeah, it's demanding. And who does he come in for in that role? Who's he coming in for?
I said Gundogan's.
Gundogan.
I think Gundogan will play at the start of the season because De Bruyne's out.
Yeah, but
Gundogan had his best ever season last year. So do you take him out if De Bruyne's fit? Do you take?
Well, then I think because there's no striker. Let's remember that Gundogan hypothetically plays striker.
Yeah.
And then you got De Bruyne and Grealish, right centre mid, left centre mid, Foden, Sterling.
How does Grealish's play style then fit into that?
So, again, I know, Luke, you have something to say about how Grealish's play style actually doesn't benefit City. I am wary on time, but we will say that. And then we've got all our arguments for City, for the top 4. And we've got an argument against City as well. So, Luke, if you want to say why Grealish doesn't benefit City, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think, obviously, doesn't benefit City with his current play style. I think he's under the best development manager in the world who we evolved. Mm-hmm. But right now, I think Jack Grealish does need to change. And that's because I feel, if you look at the Jack Grealish we touched on before with Villa, what is Jack Grealish's play style when he gets the ball?
Just drives
forward with the ball. Sees any chance, if there's no chance, draw foul, stop the game. Stop, start. Again, Jack Grealish gets the ball, takes the ball forward, gets fouled, stops the game.
Yeah.
When Jack Grealish is on the pitch, he allows Villa to be in control of the game by making it so stop-start. They keep the ball, takes the pressure off them, and it's very get us if you can. He's kind of baits a player in, wins a foul. That's how it goes with him. City are the best free-flowing side we've seen since Barcelona under Pep Guardiola. The best free-flowing football side in the world. What do you want if you play City? You want a stop-start game.
True.
If you're a smaller team on a lower end of the spectrum, you don't want City pinging a ball over you, dragging you everywhere, running you into the floor. You won't be able to keep up with them. They will tire you out. They will drag you to the ground and they will score numerous amounts of goals because you can't stop it. So what's the one thing you'd like to happen? One player to consistently get the ball, to drive in, get fouled, stop the game, allow you to set back up, keep them out. That's the one thing you want to do, because when they start shuffling the pack and moving around and playing little intricate passes and everything, it's game over. You've lost.
See, I agree with that, but I would also say that we want a free-flowing City. That's what they want anyway. I would say that Grealish is probably one of the best players in the league on the half turn, almost breaking a line, like receiving a pass and actually turning on it. And so if you can actually get him in that 8 position and just let him sort of collect the ball.
Easy
and
to
then
turn the pass though. Was he that player?
He
Or is he the
You
more
said
come
as
to
well,
collect and run?
Pep's one of the best at developing players. I mean, you see the player that Sterling has become from when Pep was there.
Yeah.
You can sort of coach like the right triggers to pass
Yeah.
for Grealish. Even at England, I think he sort of holds on to the ball almost a bit too much.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. I think that comes with the realisation of you've got better players around you, that you have more trust in the players that you can play with, that he can release the ball and he will receive it back. And I think with Pep Guardiola coaching him, I think that I very much see that being an issue at the early part of his City
That's
career.
my point.
And but I do think it'll be coached out of him and he'll continue exploiting spaces how he does.
I agree with that.
I just think
But that
that's
is
just my
an
point. Just
interesting
the slow
topic.
start, the stop start. Does it benefit City or does it slightly hinder them in their consistency?
It's definitely an interesting point. Probably something that will be. If you're probably watching this on Instagram, because I'll probably clip that up. But yeah, that's an interesting point. And we've now have all our arguments for the top 4, for and against. It's a fucking long talk. But
So who is our
who is it? Who is it?
I think we go
Chelsea, Man United,
Liverpool, City.
Liverpool, City? Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy for you guys to have your input.
So that's going to be on the graphic on the side. Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, City. But just to clarify, your personal top 4 is
Liverpool, Man United, City, Chelsea.
your personal top 4.
Chelsea, Man United, City, Liverpool.
And my personal top 4 is Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, and Man City.
Same as this season's.
It is. I didn't actually realise that, but...
And the same top 5. Or was it top 6? Did Spurs finish? No, they didn't, did they?
Nah.
But yeah, that is the top...
Turn the contract.
That is the top 6 decided. Top 10 decided, really.
Literally, we could talk about the Premier League.
We never said about relegation.
We never said relegation.
But that's what we're going to move into quickly, just to wrap up the video. Last 10-minute section will be a quick fire section.
Okay. Nice.
Quick-ish fire. We will elaborate on some of the points that we've made.
Yeah. 'Cause there might be some outlandish ones, like I've got.
For relegation. So we'll go straight into it. Quick fire round. Quickish fire round.
Quick.
So we've got relegation. Give us your bottom 3, Jack. Quick fire.
Okay, so Norwich, Burnley, Southampton. Yeah, mad.
Burnley.
Yeah.
You can't do Sean Dye like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You've only got in one position up.
No, but I got Burnley surviving the
Well, Ben me. No one finished there. No,
no, you can do better than that.
I do better than that, but I'm not doing it.
Right.
So mine is Norwich, bottom, usual service in Norwich.
Agreed.
Have a 6-seed championship and just go. Watford 19th,
Right.
17th Southampton.
Where's 18th?
Watford.
No, 18th Southampton.
Watford.
18th. So
Watford
both of you
19th.
saying Southampton going down.
Yeah.
Mine, I think Watford, bottom. Brentford 19th.
Okay. What?
I think Brentford.
You have to elaborate on some of these.
Well, you guys have to elaborate.
I don't agree with
again.
both of
quick
these.
fire.
Quick fire, Jack.
Quick
Shut up,
fire.
mate.
Yeah.
Brentford 19th, and I've gone even more controversial. Fucking XG machine that is Brighton are going down.
Ooh.
Are we going to elaborate, or are we just going to keep it quick and let the
You can elaborate on friggin' Watford and Brentford. Like,
mate?
I think both of those are weird.
We'll just see what happens. We'll probably
go
get
on.
clipped up.
We'll have to revisit this halfway through the season, see how things are going on.
See how things are going. We'll do, yeah. But now we go to the rest of the quick fire questions. Quick fire, Jack. Don't take the piss out of me.
All right.
Golden boot. Premier League
Lukaku.
golden boot. Lukaku.
Yeah.
Salah. I'm going to say Lukaku as well.
Salah's the best goal scorer in the Prem, just saying.
Best midfielder. So this is a bit of a weird one, but I think with the midfield talent we've got on show, who's going to be the best midfielder?
Mine's a bit of a cop-out, but I'm just going to say, let's get it over with KDB.
KDB?
Bruno.
I don't even agree with this, but Jack Grealish. Nah, I don't. Pogba. That's who I think. Pogba. Pogba, I think. First manager to be sacked.
Mine's easy. Patrick Vieira.
Patrick Vieira.
Bye.
Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
Gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
But
The Watford manager.
the Watford, I don't. They're going to get and you think they're going to finish a bit? Well, you said 19th.
Well, honestly, they'll have 5 managers up throughout the season and finish second.
Yeah.
Their manager last year
Yeah.
won Manager of the Month in the same week he was sacked.
Really?
no.
Yeah.
The first manager they got?
No, there was a manager in I can't remember his name. It was something like
Key case.
something Ivan something.
Right.
Yeah, he got sacked in the same week he won Manager of the Month.
Right. Either way.
So Watford owners just don't care.
I would say Patrick Vieira, but a cheeky one I'm going to throw in. Dean Smith might get sacked. Andre Villas-Boas vibes. Goes back to what we were saying before. But we'll move on from that. Breakout star. And they could have already broken out, but someone who's going to go mega.
When you say, so do you mean like someone who's going to like just show them like the quality they have, or do you mean someone who's going to announce himself as the top level?
So just sort of a player that will elevate themselves to a very high degree.
Ismail Assar.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say Pedro Neto. And again, that'll probably be in a post that I do later on about Bruno Laga's Wolves. If you're interested, it'll be on Instagram.
Do you know what? Even though I slagged him off before, I've actually got a theory. It is going to be Smith Rowe. I know. I genuinely think he's going to do well for Arsenal this year.
I'm going to go back to the clip that I said, is he even that good?
No, because do you know
He's overhyped.
No, do you know why? Do you know why? Because I do generally think he's overhyped to an extent.
Yeah.
But I generally think that if someone's going to do it for Arsenal, and I don't think that Aubameyang's got it anymore, and it's obviously going to be Saka, but I think Emil Smith Rowe actually outperformed himself. I was going to say Harvey Elliott, but I had to change it up, so I went with Smith Rowe.
Right. 2 more questions. This one you can elaborate on a tiny bit, but we'll say which player could we see have a massive role change? This is tactic talk, so go for it. A player that you think will change their role.
I've touched on him briefly when we were talking about Leicester, but I think Yuri Tielemans might end up playing that attacking midfield role with the double pivot behind him. Fire.
All right, okay.
Fire. Okay.
I've already mentioned Grealish,
Yeah.
so I'll say something different. Thiago higher up the pitch.
Thiago higher up the pitch. And who do you think, will it be a similar situation to Tielemans in the sense that we'll see as an advanced midfielder? Or
No, I don't think he'll be a solid number 10, but I think that, when we've seen Wijnaldum and Henderson kind of operate the same kind of.
Yeah.
But I think Thiago will give him more of a freelance to go forward and start to get in and around the box to create more chances and get more goals and assists.
Right, okay. Again, I said about Pedro Neto. He was actually my answer for this question as well. I'll just give a quick explanation. Bruno Lage played Pizzi for Benfica as a right midfielder who also operated in like the central spaces, and Pizzi went on to have his best ever goal scoring season. I think he hit like 18 or something in all competitions from right mid. I think Pedro Neto could be utilised in a similar manner, or Daniel Podence for that matter, similar to how Hazard was utilised under Conte for Chelsea when he was there. And then the final one, Premier League's biggest flop / letdown. Could be a manager, could be a player, could be a team.
Wolves.
Just completely juxtapose what I said.
But I've had that opinion for a while now. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, this is hard.
You could say Grealish for the reasons he said earlier on.
Yeah.
For the stop-start playing.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't think he'll be the biggest flop. I just thought it was a...
Ben White.
Ben White.
Yeah.
It won't solve our...
There's a guy right now screaming at his phone.
Varane! Ben White! Yeah. Ben White, 50 mil.
With that being said, I think this is the longest Tactic Talk podcast episode you will see. If there's enough interest, we'll do a Champions League / European football predictions as well. But after that, we're going to try to steer clear of the prediction style episodes. So if you have any suggestions for what you want us to talk about, could be anything at all, preferably football related.
Yeah.
It would be a bit fucking weird talking about something else.
Oh, to be fair, I actually like that.
What? If
Like
someone just
weirdly.
commented, please you talk about different breeds of cat.
Yeah. I just turn with next Joe Rogan. There's 3 of us.
Yeah, we'll see what we got to do. But yeah, if you liked the episode, do give us a like on YouTube and share it around on Spotify and or YouTube. And thank you for joining us. Cheers.